One big mess.
It's a long way running.
The word on the street is you're responsible.
We're in a competition now. Put your fear in the back pocket and you go for it.
Paul decided to jump out of the boat.
Come on, guys! Come on! Hold it, hold it, hold it!
The Photonis Ultimate Forces Challenge, an annual extreme endurance competition for athletes from across the globe. On the Indonesian island of Bali, 42 elite athletes push the limits of teamwork, tactics, and pure physical strength to prove who's the fittest of them all.
The competition is really heating up. The last challenge was a relay race, which saw each team struggle with tactics and with difficult obstacles.
In the last challenge, our athletes had to run, swim, and climb their way through a brutal 2.5-kilometre obstacle course.
Come on, Irene.
And it wasn't easy.
It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
That was tough. That was intense.
With only a 1-minute penalty attached to skipping the obstacles, many of the athletes gladly kept running. But a smart tactic for some, for others was a point of conflict and a lot of frustration.
We came here to do an obstacle course, not to run through and not attempt to climb a rope.
That was her second time around this obstacle course.
All the obstacles, eh?
Tactics or pure physical strength. The winner was...
Team Belgium.
Belgium finished with the fastest time. And as their victory pushes them up to a solid second place in the overall standings, South Africa finished the challenge second and retained their overall lead. America sit alone in third place, while teams Australia and Canada languish uncomfortably at the bottom of our rankings. Bali is well known for its beautiful beaches and positive spiritual vibes. It's the ultimate retreat to clear your mind and find inner peace. And that's exactly what our teams are striving for today.
It was Dwayne's birthday, so we had to go out and support South Africa. And it was good, it was a fun night. My idea was as long as everybody's doing that, then we're all good. So we'll see how that plays out today.
Dwayne, oh!
Yeah.
The word on the street is you're responsible. How do you plead?
Guilty. Amen.
How was the last night?
Yes, it was epic.
Epic.
Lots of good friends, and I got to see a couple of the countries dancing.
Uh-huh.
Canada, not too bad. America had no moves.
It's clear to see that all teams are mentally and physically exhausted. But that will not stop these tough contestants, and it will not stop this game from moving on.
In the next challenge, the teams will have to complete a 3-kilometre amphibious cross.
Start on the beach, get on a rubber duck.
Those boats don't have rudders, don't have anything, so you get a little bit off kilter and the boat spins around.
They must completely circle the first buoy.
Paddle around the first buoy, do a full 360 around the buoy, then paddle to the next buoy, take a right off that buoy and head straight inland.
At this point, they must divide the tasks.
And that is one person that's to kayak with the sandbag, a little course.
Meanwhile, the rest of the team frantically load the sandbags onto the dinghies.
We had to put 4 sandbags into the boat and paddle around the trees for about 100 meters.
When they arrive back on dry land, they will have to backtrack on foot to the finish line. Standing in their way, however, are several challenges, obstacles, and of course, our ever-present sandbags.
And we have to take the sandbags and the boat, get them over top of 2 obstacles, and then run with all the sandbags and the boat to the flag, drop off the 4 sandbags, and then continue on with the boat, carrying all the way past the finish line.
Easy does it. Right?
It sounds difficult, but adding an exceptional heat, it was incredibly challenging.
First up, Team Belgium. Fresh off their recent success, the Belgians are keen to climb even higher in the overall standings.
We're going to come closer to South Africa. We're going to do this good. As a team, we're going to beat them.
Over the past few challenges, Team Belgium have strung together a series of victories, and for this challenge, they have an advantage. A few experienced rowers in their team. 3 wins in a row is definitely a possibility.
Good. We passed him. Now go to the beach.
But who is the captain on this boat?
With the Amphibious Cross, we were one big mess. The communication was not good at all.
MMA fighter Rudy has brought his own game plan to this race. The problem is, he hasn't shared it with his teammates.
When we had to stop a little bit, he also stopped. I said, no, Rudy, but he didn't listen. He just, it was... That's Rudy, I know him, and sometimes, he's not listening. I don't know what it is. He stops in his ear, I don't know what sometimes is, but...
With no structure whatsoever, the frustrations are nearing boiling point.
Between the team, we got angry of each other, and it wasn't good.
Even Sander's aggressive exchange doesn't seem to have an effect on Rudy. Fortunately for Rudy, Team Belgium survived the first leg of the challenge without too much delay. While Sander does his best to make up for lost time, the rest of the team initiates a cool-down period. Their breather, however, doesn't last long. From here, it's just another 100 metres of rowing, around the trees and then getting the boat out of the water. But the rowing still seems to be the Belgians' weak point.
It wasn't really going well.
Once ashore, the boat has to be lifted over the obstacles. And then the sandbags must be dropped at the flag. It's a straight route to the finish line, but it's up to the team if they bring their boat back with them immediately. The team chooses not to, and waits for every team member to get back and assist with carrying the boat. Despite the infighting, the Belgians continue to push themselves in the debilitating Balinese heat.
We are a team, so everybody has his own faults and things, and that's something with Rudy.
The Belgians set the first time, but the team are not satisfied at all due to a little communication problem.
Afterwards, we sat together and we said, Rudy, put him back on his place. He is quite strong, so we need him.
As Team Belgium debate their differences at the finish line, South Africa are ready to go.
We had the best time last night, and I couldn't wish for a better birthday to party with different countries.
Head's a little bit sore, not much sleep, but ready for today. Give it our all.
First part is rowing to the 2 boys. For Dwayne, this is not the most favourable part of this challenge.
I'm not a swimmer. I absolutely hate the water, but it was a matter of, well, we're in a competition now, put your fear in the back pocket and you go for it.
They reach the first buoy, but it's not going as smoothly as they would have liked. South Africa's lack of skill on the water is clearly visible and costs them valuable seconds.
We didn't perform well in the boat. We performed well in everything else, so that for me is probably the biggest challenge, is, just getting the rowing part right.
The rowing in particular shows that the UFC is not all about strength. Other skills are just as important, like communication and the teamwork. They are only halfway through the challenge and still have to lug the heavy sandbags along the shore. At this stage of the race, South Africa are behind the Belgians. Terence makes it back to the shore. Everybody's starting to realise that their performance is not up to their usual standards.
Get the boats in the water, I'm coming.
Everybody was just praying to make it through this grueling challenge. It was hard and mentally challenging. It was really, really hard. And we had to work hard. We really, really had to work hard. That was probably one and only challenge where we had a little bit of rivalry amongst ourselves, but in the sense of ourselves pushing ourselves and just trying to keep up the bar, keep the bar high and just not drop the mantle as far as our succession had gone throughout the competition. So it was difficult, it was very, very mentally challenging.
At this point in the race, every athlete is forced to tap into their energy reserves, but it seems like they have picked up the pace.
Work as a team and you get through it. Try work as individuals, you're going to battle.
From here, it's straight on to the finish line.
Have a look at the faces on there. This is definitely not a challenge they wanted to do today.
Even when things aren't going their way, the South Africans' confidence remains at an all-time high.
I know we won. I know we won. No one's going to beat that. No one will beat that.
Well, we'll see about that. Next up is Team Canada. While currently tied in last place in the overall competition, the Canadians do excel at one thing in particular.
We're the happiest. We keep getting told from other teams that we're the coolest team out here, so that's got to say something.
Let's just see about that.
In the water, there wasn't much more strategy other than row together. Brooke kept cadence for us, and I think it was helpful.
It seems to be going well until they reach the first buoy.
I was a little bit shallow in that spot, so Paul decided to jump out of the boat and wrap us around that first one, which unfortunately later we caught a penalty for.
The rules of this challenge clearly state that no team member is allowed to leave the boat during the first leg. Inspired by last week's challenge, Paul thinks the time he can gain is worth the penalty his team will suffer. Paul clearly prefers running to paddling. As soon as they are near the shore, he jumps out and ploughs his way onto the kayak. Paul navigates through the mangrove.
Coming!
The rest of the team load the sandbags onto the boat. In no time, Team Canada are back in the water.
We got to the beach. We got through the obstacles okay.
Somebody on the other side.
We kind of wish we would have taken the sandbags out of the boat for the obstacles. Hindsight 2020. We worked together. We had a strategy going in. The guys would take the boat. If they needed a tag out, I would jump in, or one of the other girls would jump in.
To the flag, drop it. You're good, you're good.
Run, girls, run!
This is the front. Just have to row.
The tactics are working out fine, although carrying the boat with only 3 is not only heavy, it's no good for balance. JJ decides to give the guys a hand and help them across the finish line.
I tried to tell them, well, you should have put the rope out front and I could have led you like a dog, but it didn't work out that way. We made it anyways, but I don't think we did that well.
Good job, Paul.
For the Australians, this challenge plays into one of their strongest skills, rowing.
Start dragging, start dragging, start dragging. Hard right, hard right, hard right, hard right.
They also have another advantage. Today, they're under new management.
We haven't done it very often, and we understand that Adam's a good boss and that he understands a lot of this work. So we've decided as a team to actually listen to him this time.
So I reckon we will shine.
And shine is precisely what they do on the water.
Going around that buoy, it was just magic. We hit that buoy at the right time, we turned it, and we just came straight out. There was no messing about. It didn't feel fast, but it felt organised.
With the first leg of the challenge complete, Adam, the new commander-in-chief, makes a beeline for the kayak. He's still suffering from his muscle injury from a few challenges ago.
Adam's hamstring will influence the challenge a little bit because he's not able to run very fast, but he can still do the heavy lifting, so I think he should be okay.
And when he does slightly less than okay, there's always someone around to offer some words of encouragement.
There's a big croc coming after you. Big salt water. He's on his way back.
We've basically worked as a team the whole way through.
1 minute.
So if you see someone is battling, get someone to step in.
In the water, Team Australia are unequalled, but how will they perform when they hit dry land?
We've talked about who's got the strengths where in this race, and I think we should do okay.
Lifting an 18-kilo dinghy through rudimentary obstacles is tough for anyone, but the Australians don't seem to be bothered at all by the weight and simply push forward. After dumping the sandbags, the women charge towards the finish line and seem to be making a great time.
Everything went to plan on that one. It was just like clockwork.
Come on! Come on! Come on! Run!
Just a little chance we could beat South Africa. I think today we were able to really work with the different skills in our team and put a few things together.
Next up, Team USA.
None of us have a rowing background, so we were trying to get a game plan together, also being odd numbered, just trying to see how we're gonna make this event work and go around these obstacles in any type of sort of speed to compete. But when we actually went about the obstacles, I thought that we made pretty good time.
As Chris explores the beautiful Balinese mangroves, the women rest up for another bout of rowing.
Good work, buddy.
The Americans quickly realise how important teamwork is in a multidisciplinary challenge like this one.
We were getting a little bit tired in the rowing, but I think that we made up some time on the beach.
Clearly, Team USA are far more comfortable on land than on water. Once their feet hit the sand, they immediately pick the pace up.
Ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
The team goes flat out, and some athletes discover an inner strength they didn't even know they had. Like Stephanie, by carrying 2 25-kilo sandbags.
I'm sure I can get the smallest girl to do this.
For a 5-member team, they are performing way above their expectations.
We had a tactic that we just sort of came up with on the fly. Chris and I was just gonna grab the boat, which we thought was the heaviest thing, and then the girls were gonna carry the sandbags to the first location and then continue on with the oars, and we were just gonna run as fast as we could.
With the sandbag dropping point in sight, it seems to rejuvenate the Americans. Minus their sandbags, all 3 athletes are now free to sprint towards their teammates.
We thought that we were gonna get a little bit more tired and have to swap out. Then Kim came in there and helped out as well. It was awesome. And the rest of the team just pulled through. I wouldn't want to have to carry any other way. I think that the way that we came up with worked well for our situation.
Despite some difficulties on the water and being one man down, Team USA finished strong.
Being down a member with the Amphibious Cross, I thought USA did really well.
Good work, guys.
So totally happy with how we performed.
But is it enough to beat their opponents? Once again, it's a very tough challenge that asked a lot of the athletes. And now, it's time to hear the results.
Of fifth place was the team with the only penalty because getting out of the boat. The team of Canada.
Fifth place after the penalties. We're doing really well with coming in last, I would say. We're crushing it.
Fourth place, team of USA.
Canada took a penalty and it kicked us up positions, so even with 5 players, we're still ahead of Canada. So you know what? Team USA is happy with that one.
And then, the top 3.
On third place, team Belgium.
We were quite happy with it because we saw the others paddling. They were going like hell, and then we thought, yeah, let them go. They are in front of us.
And the winner of the Balinese Amphibious Cross?
Australia. Number 2, team South Africa.
It's great. It's about time, but no, it's great. It's good to use a bit of brain power and teamwork to achieve something.
We beat South Africa and it was our event. We owned it. It was one of the best things so far.
Australia finally win their first UFC challenge by beating South Africa by an impressive minute, thanks to their superior rowing abilities. Despite an absent member in their team, Belgium still manages to pull off third place. With just 5 members, Team USA come in 4th, thanks part to Canada's inability to stay in their boat. The penalty puts Canada in last place. It's clearly not Canada's day. Not only do they lose a challenge, but they also fall to last place in the overall standings. Belgium is 2nd, and South Africa, like always, remain in pole position. However, the other teams are closing in fast.
You know, we would like to win every single one, but I think we have become a little bit comfortable in the fact that we've got quite a lead. But we'll put our plans together and we'll take it as it comes, and I'm sure we'll make it work.
But as South Africa's performances begin to slip, Team Australia recognise an opportunity and a weakness in the UFC leaders.
They're not as tough as they look. I think we're sneaking up on them. We're a bit of a challenge at this point in time. I think the Australian team bond a lot better than the South African team. There's a lot of individuals, and sometimes they don't quite know who to let take the lead in certain events.